So one thing I've learned, one of the really big important lessons that I have learned, and perhaps this is just from life experience, but it's also sort of studying companies for a long time, is they get their money someplace. You cannot outsmart a company in terms of thinking of, that you are going to do something that is going to benefit you, and the company is not going to be well aware of what you're actually doing. I'm talking about credit card companies right now is a big thing in my mind, in that, there's all this sort of gaming that goes on, and man, it fools so many people in terms of the gaming that goes on, that you get these points and you get this thing and that thing. And ultimately, when you add it up and you eventually do all of the things that they do, and you compare it against the alternative, almost always the credit card company is winning, and it is just marketing material. This goes for cell phone companies, this goes for any kind of company in terms of the sort of sneaky marketing things that they do, right? Like, you don't pay as much up front, and you pay per month, for example, or you get points, or there's some sort of benefit that they offer you. Almost always, there's a backdoor way of them making money, and it's a way of them gaining, um, loyalty from you. That's one thing, but generally they're not going to benefit a lot from that sort of loyalty stuff. It does benefit, but they're really going to be benefiting from, the fees that you're going to be paying eventually. This is the reason why there's services, for example. Almost all software has some sort of service that's provided in the background. And once you start realizing this, they get their money somehow. You begin to realize, like, man, it is really scammy if you start looking at it. And it's incredibly painful to talk to almost most people, to sort of tell them this story, that they're going to get their money somehow. And, even if I was to tell this to, good friends and people that are, well aware of this kind of stuff, it's still going to be a painful experience. Like a warranty, extended warranty, all of these kind of things, it's baked into the price. It has to be baked into the price. That's how they actually make a profit, is that all of that stuff, that's just a bottom line cost, and is baked into the price. There is no actual value that they are providing. Now, what are the things that actually do provide value? Right? That's where you look for things that there's sort of two ways, right? So one of them is on the technology front, that there is some fundamental different technology that hasn't been done before, and you can get that the advantage from the technology. That's a lot of things, but not that many actually, right? Like, it's going to be not nearly as much as you think it's going to be. Um, it could be on a big thing is what's called economies of scale. So these are things, it's just so many people that they're servicing that they can just provide things cheaply, right? They can just get massive economies of scale. Maybe it's not necessarily people, but you're just buying a whole bunch of crap from them. Um, you know, uh, my a person in that I know that's very dear to me owns a construction company, and um, you know he just buys crap tons of stuff, right? From Home Depot, and then of course he gets a discount because he buys a crap ton of stuff from Home Depot. Another thing, another advantage, or another thing that you might get from this kind of gamey stuff, in terms of what companies could do, is like just quality in terms of them having good customer service with you, and you get to talk to them. That there's some, I mean, I'm willing to pay for customer service. Absolutely, it's a much better experience, but it's also, often it just makes your life better. And you don't experience that until you go through troubles, right? So, um, you know, one of the air carriers. I've had a lot of not so fun experiences with them. Um, they're the in America, they're the big one, but not the one that's the expensive one. So there's one that's slightly cheaper, and hopefully you'll figure that out. Um, I will always pay for the more expensive one now because my experiences have not been nearly as bad as the one that's slightly cheaper on flights, right? So I won't even look at that airline anymore, even though I know it's cheaper. It's because it's I've just had experiences where I've been put out to dry. I've had to stay someplace overnight because the flight was canceled, those kind of things. And that hurts, right? Like that just sucks. I don't want to deal with that. I want good customer service. Well, talk to a human being, not a robot that will help solve my problems. And that goes for even if I'm talking to a human being, I don't want them to feel robotic. And that's a painful thing. So even hotels, I kind of have a bottom line in terms of I'm not going to stay at not as good as a hotel. Mind you, I stayed at like the Holiday Inn. That's totally fine. But I'm not going to stay at some really discount place just because of those bad experiences that I've had in the past. So all of those things, right? They're getting there. I am overpaying often for those things, and I know that. Um, but I'm willing to pay for those particular things, right? So just know that they're going to get their money somehow. It always adds up. You're always going to overpay for any of these servicey kind of things and extra gadgets, all of that kind of stuff. Anytime that there is not, it's not a what's a commodity. So a commodity is something that is there's a big market for it, and lots of people can produce this particular thing. Turns out there's not many things that are a commodity in this world, but the closer things might be like oil, for example. Even oil, I wouldn't say all the time is a commodity, but it's the closest thing we have. Wheat, same thing. Um, but any of that kind of stuff, the more that things become like a perfect market like that, the better off that you're going to be. But if you are purchasing anything outside of that, where it's just kind of like a mass produced thing, you're overpaying. Or where it's not a mass producing, you're going to overpay. It's a gimmick. Just be well aware. They're all gimmicks every single time. Anything with a credit card, extended insurance stuff. I'd like to talk to you about my car's extended insurance plan. So, all of that kind of stuff, scams. Just outright you're overpaying, or they're even scammy in the sense you're paying far too much for what you're getting. All right, take care and have a wonderful day.